Okay, well, guys and girls, welcome in. Today we are doing another interview with Amanda. We were just chatting there. We did one of these about a year ago, roughly. And, I know from the thumbnail on YouTube, it was when you're at about 20,000 per month, roughly.
Mhm.
So a lot has changed, Amanda. That's obviously what we're doing round two. So actually, my bad. This is round three. Hold on. We got to go back a bit because we actually did one when you're at 5K a month.
Yeah.
I don't even know how long ago that was. So quite some time ago.
Yeah.
So that last version was the recap of 5 to 20. Now we're going from 20 to I'll let you fill in the blank.
Yeah. We did 200 one month, and now we're sitting right now around like 50K a month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. And I think I have a little bit of context on that 200K a month where it was like kind of a commission deal, right? With one
Mhm.
company you're working with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. With this particular company, it's a really, really big e-commerce brand.
Hmm.
We basically agreed to a commission-based pay structure. So instead of a monthly retainer, whatever sales we make through social media, we get a percentage of.
Hmm.
So we agreed to 10%. And one thing that I don't think they realized was when you have a Shopify, you can see where people are coming from.
Hmm.
So say like how many Instagram people came from Instagram, how many people came from TikTok, how many people came from Facebook. So when we added all those up, it ended up being $2 million. So 10% of that was 200K. So that's what they owed us at
Damn.
the end of the month.
Damn. Was it hard to get that payment from them? That's a large sum to send out.
Yeah, there was it had to be done in chunks,
Mm.
but
Hmm.
we ended up getting it all. And so I'm a big fan of commission based pay structures when you're working with like larger companies.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, awesome. I'm excited about this one, Amanda. Let's give people just a quick recap, just like an intro, if you want, just for people that are listening in, say for the first time, and
Yeah.
then I've got a ton of things I wanna ask on what you're doing. So,
Okay. Well, if any of you haven't met me or don't know who I am, my name is Amanda Mohan. I am a student of Adam's, very long time. I joined the program in 2020, I think. So I've known Adam for like almost 6 years now. And he's really, really helped me go from freelance to agency owner to now I'm a consultant for Fortune 500 brands and literally some of the biggest companies in the world. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit about me, but
love it.
uh, yeah,
Love it. Amazing. So I want to jump back into this commission deal that you had because as you said, Amanda, like you're a big fan of them. I've actually never done a commission deal when it comes to social media ever. It's always been just flat pay structure, and that's been it. I'd love to know what's your criteria for knowing if a client is ready for a commission deal or if you should just go with your standard certain amount per month set retainer.
great question. So we only do commission based payment structures with companies that can prove that they are doing a certain amount of money
Mm-hmm.
per month consistently. So whatever our monthly retainer would normally be, like let's just say it's 3,000 a month, we would make sure that that company is doing at least 30,000 a month in online sales before we would sign any paperwork.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, we do make them verify that. Like we do make them give us access to their Shopify or
Mm-hmm.
whatever payment processor they're using. And then yeah, that's basically the only criteria though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense, right? Because obviously we're not going to offer commission for the brand new company that's at zero if they've,
Yeah,
yeah, no proof. Makes
yeah.
sense. And when you're, let's say, having a conversation with a client about it, are you bringing that up early in kind of like the discovery? So, say if you have your first meeting with them, is that something you're talking through then, or is it more have a call, see if they're a good fit with other criteria you look at, and then you might have a second call to go deeper into logging in, verifying, and really seeing if they're a good fit?
Yeah, so we actually send out a pre-call questionnaire. So that's like one of the questions that they have to answer. And then if it's not the answer that I want to hear, then I don't get on the phone with them. But typically I tried to ask that in advance. There was times where we didn't have the pre-call questionnaire, and that
Hmm.
was something I had to bring up like in the first call,
Hmm.
just one-on-one with them. But now we pretty much know everything before we get on the phone with anyone.
Nice. Yeah, makes sense. And obviously most people listening, if they've started an agency already, they're probably doing that, but maybe not to the same extent. They might have, Calendly or a basic calendar with a couple of questions, but you've probably got a more detailed one, right? As to monthly revenue and a few other questions as well.
Yeah, for different industries, we have different questionnaires
Hmm.
because some of the questions don't apply to certain people.
Hmm.
Um, but I liked Calendly when we did use Calendly. Um, I just like the option to give them mandatory questions so that when
Hmm.
you go into it, you know sort of what you're dealing with.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense because it adds a bit of friction, right? Some people are going to start filling that X off the page and never book, but that's obviously not the type of person that's probably going to become your client anyway. So,
Right.
yeah, makes sense. One question that I imagine a lot of people are going to be thinking, Amanda, is like, how do you first find these big clients? That's the big question, right? Because as you said, that commission deal really only makes sense if they're doing a certain amount. So is this clients that are coming to you, like kind of inbound, or are you going out and finding these?
They're all inbound. So basically, all of our bigger corporate clients or bigger e-commerce clients
Hmm.
have been referrals
Cool.
or reached out to me directly based on knowing that I've worked with certain other companies that are, within their industry or in like the same niche as them.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Makes sense. And I know even in our last interview, we did touch on that. Like for you, those bigger clients, typically it is referral, it's inbound, it's personal. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's quite the norm in the industry.
Yeah, what I will say about that is you can definitely reach out to bigger companies. Like when I, was first starting, I was reaching out to like the directors of marketing or like anyone who I thought could have been the decision maker, like on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And you can definitely do that, but there's a very low percentage of you getting an answer, unfortunately, because everybody else is also thinking the same thing. And that's the thing with cold outreach to these bigger companies. When you pitch yourself, it's like either you have to have a really good pitch and a really good portfolio and just lay it all out on the table,
Hmm.
your first message, or you work your way up and eventually get the referrals.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense because like even people we've had, let's say in the last 2, 3 months that are beginners joining, and if they're doing cold outreach, yeah, like it's not two massive companies. It's still a very small, brand new company, and it works for that because they're obviously not getting hit up as much. But that company that's been around for 20 years and they've been in the space successfully, like doing well, yeah, they're going to be
Mhm.
inundated. Like they've probably got an email specifically just for pitches they've received in the last year.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
use AI to like filter out certain words and certain messages. So
Hmm.
sometimes your emails don't even reach the inbox anymore,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Literally. Literally. Another question I'll have for you, Amanda, on that, let's say that big month, right? That 200K month, which came from the 2 million that you guys attributed from social media for that brand. Would you say, if you were to compare that to your typical like social media management client, was the workload massively different? Or was it that you did the same work roughly, but you just went viral more and had more success with the videos you were putting out there?
So there's definitely a trade-off when this is a good question. So there's definitely a trade-off when you do land a bigger client. There's a lot more pressure on you and it's a lot higher stakes.
Hmm.
So although we didn't have a set amount of posts that we had to deliver, like we didn't have certain deliverables per
Hmm.
month, they were just kind of like letting us do whatever we wanted because they were trusting us that
Yeah.
we've done it before, obviously. And the one thing about that is that it's significantly more work
Hmm.
because the harder you work getting their content out and on their strategy, like the more money you make, obviously. So we were doing 20 posts a day per platform
Wow.
for this one client. And
Wow.
that was taking some of our account managers literally 8 hours a day to do just this one client.
Mm.
So there is a trade off and it's definitely more work, but it's worth it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the payoff pretty quick with that client? Like say in the first couple of weeks or?
Yeah, like so in the beginning, we were doing probably like 25K in commission a month.
Mhm. Cool.
Um, so they were sitting around like $250,000 a month just from our posting for them.
Mhm.
And then I realized like, hey, if we ramp this up by like times five. This is going to go up times five.
Mhm.
So I got everybody on a meeting, like all my account managers, all of our designers, all of our content editors. And I just made sure with them first, like, hey, is this even possible? Like, is this even like feasible? If we were to do this, like, is this going to like burn everybody out? And they were like all totally on board. So, luckily I have a good A team, but I definitely had to check with everyone first before I pulled the trigger
Definitely.
on. Yeah.
Definitely. Did you have to like reduce the workload for other clients that they were working on, or?
Yeah, we had to shift around like a lot of clients. Like we had to take certain people off of other projects
Mhm.
and give them other people, then hire some other people. So it was a lot of shuffling around and a lot of like
Yeah.
logistical things to figure out.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, the
Obviously worth
the grind is the
it.
payoff.
Pay it off big time. Yeah, that's so good. So good. So 20 posts a day on each platform. Wow, that's heavy going. But obviously to do numbers like that, you're gonna have to do some things that are pretty insane. That's just the reality. What
Yeah.
would you say, looking back from say that big months, like what were the biggest either angles that you used in the content or like I guess just takeaways, because when you're doing that kind of volume, it's inevitable that you are going to have things that work, right? Because you're doing 20 a day, like that's 600 a month per platform. Like, it's
Yeah.
pretty impossible to post 600 times and not get at least something to hit, to click, to resonate. So I'd love to know, yeah, I'm sure you guys have done probably like a big old breakdown on that, but just some rough insights because, people starting off in this game, that's the thing they struggle with almost the most is the confidence of how will I ever know what will actually work? Right now I have two clients. I'm kind of just posting here and there. I have a rough strategy, but I want to know from the bigger players, like what's actually working.
Controversy works. Like being controversial is very much tied to success on social media, unfortunately. I will say with this client, like with every client that we talk to initially, like I have a very questionable leadership style and a very questionable like process of my social media strategy creation. So I make sure that everyone knows like, hey, I'm actually a little bit insane, but this is why X, Y, and Z works so good because I'm like cracked in the head. Um, so we definitely did a lot of things that were controversial. We had a lot of hooks that were like purposely rage baiting
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
like definitely inciting some like emotional responses. But if you're scrolling through your For You page and you don't have a response immediately to a piece of content, you're probably going to scroll away. The
Yeah.
only time people actually stay and you retain viewers and you retain followers and engagement and even conversions is when you're getting to the root of emotions or thoughts or even like just relatability.
Yeah, no, makes so much sense because I know, Amanda, I think the first video you ever saw from me was a video that was controversial. It was a
Yeah,
video of me going like, "Hey, how is this legal?" And it was me explaining, outsourcing to lower cost countries. Some people love it, some people hate it, and
yeah.
like, that was years ago, right? But that's just the reality of like I've seen it myself for sure. Controversy definitely is the key to get that mass spread engagement or that virality.
Exactly. And a lot of bigger companies and, even just creators in general that are doing, millions of views a month, they don't want to work with social media managers or agencies or strategists that don't have this thought process. Like they don't want to
Yeah.
work with somebody who's just going to play it safe and do what everybody else is doing and, you know, have this like cushy, nice little
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic. Like that used to work and that was all great, but it's definitely very competitive now like for these positions and for this work. Like you really have to be willing to be different than everybody
Mm-hmm.
else in like every sense of how you work.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you deal with clients when they're just not willing to do that? Like if they're just not willing to have those pieces that are going to be slightly controversial. Is it a
Mhm.
case of you're just turning down the controversy like notch, and say, hey, we're not going to do a 9 out of 10 here. We're just going to go with a little 2 out of 10 test of waters? or do you just go with the kind of more vanilla approach and kind of set that expectation that, hey, we're going to go vanilla, which means we'll get vanilla results. We're not going to get as impressive growth.
Yeah, like I present two different scenarios of how we could work together to every client. So I say this is a route that we could go that has an 80% chance of making you X amount of money or whatever. And then we could also do it this way and we could play it really safe. And I can't guarantee you any results. And a lot of companies are fine with being vanilla. A lot of companies really don't care. The way bigger companies, like, for example, right now I'm leading like global strategy for like a really, really big firm. And they want to be vanilla because they have to be. That's like legally they can't be controversial. That like and they have to maintain this image, which is fine. So a lot of people's and a lot of these companies, like a lot of their strategy is actually just based on being vanilla and you know having this certain look all the time. But yeah, I present two different things that we could do, and they pick one. And if they pick the one that isn't as robust, I tell them, hey, this might not bring you anything that you want. When you initially came to me, you said, I want this result, and this result. Like this, there's a potential that doesn't happen. And they say, okay, and we do it. And when it doesn't happen, then usually what happens is the next 6 months, we switch to the other plan.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense. Yeah. Because, like you said, if they're saying I want all these things, you're doing the right job by showing, hey, there's two routes, set the expectation. But then, yeah, when the inevitable happens and they go, oh, we're not quite seeing that result we wanted, you can very clearly go, gotcha, told you so. Right. Let's try the other approach.
Yeah, a lot of people want me to come into their companies and do audits and tell them like what they're doing wrong. And then I present them with this is how you can fix it. And you can either take my advice or not. But a lot of the people that hire me just want to be aware of what they could change. And usually they don't fix it, but at least they know in the future if they ever need to fix it, like that's what they can do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Love that. Solid insights there. And again, I know like a lot of people, again, first few clients, they're probably a little bit scared of going that approach because it can feel risky, it can feel like, whoa, what if I post something and the client hates it? Like they really, really dislike it. But again, if you've done what Amanda's doing, like setting that expectation, showing them, hey, there's two routes to do this, where do you want to play essentially? Like at least give the option. I think that's such a good idea. Because then, yeah, again, if they don't, it's like, well, I kind of showed you guys, hands off. Yeah, easy. Cool, cool. One question I would have for you, Amanda, is, and I'm sure people are thinking this as well, right? Because you've been in the industry a long time. You've seen things come and go. You've seen things that work really well for a few months, maybe, and then kind of falls off. And you've had a different strategy that's worked well, right? Which in any industry, when somebody's been in the game 4, 5, 6 years, impressive, right? Because a lot of people will just do a thing for a year. Then when it gets a little bit tough, they'll hop to something else and then just keep moving, right? So what keeps you in the game? Like you've obviously got a high level of motivation. Like you said, in your words, cracked in the head, right? So you've got like that, probably just that innate drive, right? Of just like, you constantly want to do more, grow more, push boundaries, right?
Yeah.
What would you say though actually keeps you going at the end of the day? Because I'm sure when you've had those massive 200K months, you've also had months where you're probably super stressed, super, panicked, anxious about the future or where you're going.
Yeah. I think everyone who works in social media is going to be stressed. That's just what you sign up for when you start an agency or you become a social media manager or a social media strategist. And a lot of people can't handle that. And I think that's where you see the drop off is once they realize like I can't have this type of pressure on me, they just stop doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't like it, don't do it. Like that's my thing is I do this because I love it. Like I genuinely love networking and like pushing myself. Like for me, it's just never enough. Like when I literally wrote in my journal on January 1st of this year, like I want to hit 100K month. And then I doubled that and it still wasn't enough for me. I was like, we can do better. Like next month, like let's do 250. Like it's just for me, it's just never enough. And And maybe that's not the right way to look at it. Like I'll never be like satisfied, but the more you push yourself, like the better you become. And literally the only person who can push you is you. So it's almost like you have to hold yourself accountable. And if you don't like it, don't do it. If you love it, go 10 toes down, like walk in. Like I don't know, like you just have
Yeah.
to lock in. Like, yeah.
No, it makes sense. Makes sense. And I can definitely relate to a lot of that. I guess, what would you say, like at the end of that, right? Of the feeling of you hit 200 and you're like, right, boom, 250. And then you're like, right, 300, that constant, which I think we all have. I do think that's a human thing, right? Of just you hit one level, you want to go to the next. We have that big vision, we achieve it, and then we're like, it's fine. And I want more. Is there something behind that of like, is there like a set, financial goal of like a certain number you're trying to hit? Or is it just I guess for some people, a good few of my friends, it's like, no, it's just a sense of they just love the growth, right? Like there's no number. If they hit 5 million, 10 million net worth, they're like, it doesn't make a difference. They're still going to keep going because they just love the game, I guess.
Yeah, I think when I originally started, like I set little goals for myself, which was good to start off
Mm-hmm.
because like it just held me to like a certain standard and like a certain work ethic. And like what I will say about that is I'm kind of like those people. Like I just feel like it's never going to be enough for me. I always think I can do better. Um, and my reason for just like locking in so much like I've been doing for the last 10 years is like I want to take care of my family and my friends. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also a lot of other people's motivation when they go on their own or you build a team and you start scaling and you think of all these things like, oh, I can get a house and I can get a car and I can get a Rolex, like I can do whatever. But like my motivation is definitely like helping my family. So
Love it.
my family's very expensive, so I
Yeah,
have
yeah. Need the big bucks, huh?
to yeah.
Love it. Love it. And yeah, you're right. Like most people, you get into this game going, okay, I got to take care of me. Okay, so let me make enough to quit my job. And you do this full time. Then you go,
Yeah.
hey, Rolex, car, whatever, a few things you want to
Yeah.
get, whatever. And then it makes sense. You ascend kind of to that next level of like, cool, I'm taken care of, I'm good, but I'm
Yeah.
still not satisfied. Cool, I'm going to take care of the people around me. Let's go that
Yeah.
next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. You might remember, Amanda, from the event that you spoke at that we did last year. James Vogel was asked a question along this lines, and I'll never forget his response. It just I say it to him all the time. The response was something like, okay, the question was something along the lines of like, James, what's your goal? What's the end goal? Why are you doing this? Why do you keep pushing? Why do you have so many companies? And he's just like, I just never want this to end. I just never want this to end. I was like, it's beautiful because he just knows like he's just gonna do business probably till he's 70 plus, and I know that for a fact. And he just loves the game. There's no number that would like take him out of it. But also just for people listening, you don't have to be like James, to get great results. You can still build a great business and give you great freedom without having that. And a lot of times that kind of you might see like insane desire for more comes again, as we said, after you've taken care of yourself. Once you've gotten to 5, 10K a month and you can kind of chill a bit, that's probably when you're gonna kind of see this and you're gonna say, okay, I've hit these numbers that I once thought were impossible. Wow, what could I do if I put my mind to it now? And that's when you start to think bigger.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that.
for sure. It was a funny moment. All right, man, from 20K roughly, right? So 20K roughly per month last year. We've obviously talked numbers, which is fantastic. So people kind of have that scope of where you've gotten to. What would you say has changed actually like in the business in terms of do you offer different services? Is it just different type of clients? What have been the biggest kind of changes?
So I really doubled down on consulting. I think that's definitely where I'd say 70% of like the revenue is
Mm-hmm.
coming in from just
Cool.
what I'm doing personally.
Nice.
Um, and really you can only get to that point like again going back to that's all me. That has nothing to do with the agency. Like nobody helps me with that. It's all my ideas. I'm doing all the research. I'm literally doing 40 hours a week for one company
Mm-hmm.
and still running my agency on the side. Like we have an operations manager who's literally a lifesaver. Like she's running the whole agency in the background. Like we still have social media management clients. That's still a big part
Mhm.
of the business. But I think like what I learned from you, Adam, was your personal brand can really like elevate you and take you to another like level.
Mhm.
And for me, like all of our bigger clients and all my consultant clients have came through my personal brand from seeing me talk about being a social media consultant, from seeing me make TikToks about results I've gotten for X, Y, and Z company. Like by me putting out the results that I've gotten, like the great results, like people naturally like gravitate towards that and want to also see those results.
Mhm.
So I think like a big chunk of it is me and only me, and that's good and bad because I have to keep going now, and or we're gonna lose 70% of our revenue.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's good because you know the company is self-running. Like I have nothing really to do with it at all, to be quite honest with
Mm.
you. I
Mm.
there was literally this week my operations manager was like, "Can you talk to Maria?" I'm like, "Who's Maria?" I'd never heard of Maria in my life. She's been working for us for 3 months as a designer, and I'm like, "I need to talk to
Um,
Maria." But yeah, so anyway, I digress.
nice. Shout out to the ops manager.
Yeah,
Keeping you alive. Good to
yeah,
hear. Good to hear. Amanda, you sent me some wins over the last year, right? And they've been consulting, right? And like some of them, yeah, some of them have I've been like, wow, that's crazy. You know, it's even hard to fathom like the size of the deals. I know one of them was I think around 10 or 12K a month, somewhere in around
mhm,
that figure for 12 months.
yeah,
You sent me that, and I was like, that's nuts, you know. And people hearing that are going to be like, that is insane. Like,
yeah,
how is that even possible?
yeah. So right now, my two biggest deals are with one company. My monthly retainer is 28,500. And that's for 40 hours a week. So like I'm on a Slack communication with them. I get
Mhm.
on their team weekly meetings. I talk to the director. I talk to literally everyone. I write all the scripts for all the content. I do all the scripts for their events. I do their global strategy for artificial intelligence and tech. I do their global strategy for consumer markets. And that's just one client. And then the other one is for 12,500. And that's just a retainer. And we talk on and off, but it wasn't always like that. And I think that there's a level of expertise that I bring to corporations from
Mhm.
having done it for so long and being familiar with like laws and regulations. Like a lot of it has become very much corporate and professional. Like I'm a pretty serious person now. I used
Mhm.
to be like very loosey goosey, and when you have an agency and you're running it, you can do whatever you want and say whatever you want. But now I'm very much like a serious person. Somebody described me as a narc the other day. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but yeah,
Oh, I'm not American, but I think I get the reference.
yeah,
Nice. Nice. Wow. Yeah, no, like you said, like it's a different ball game, obviously, dealing with those clients. Obviously, as you said there, like the financials are wildly different to what we're looking at in, social media management for small companies. So just
Mhm.
completely different ball game. But as you said there as well, it's not even just the workload, it's the knowledge that you now have. And like those companies obviously understand that. Like that's really what they're paying for. Could they find somebody online for a couple thousand a month who could do the hours you're doing? Yeah, for sure. Can they find someone with your brain that has the experience you have, that knows all of these insights? No, like that's what they're paying for. Like you said, that's obviously from the personal brands, these businesses then getting referred to you from clients. And you're probably not going to find these type of clients, posting a job on Upwork looking for somebody for 28K a month. That's
Yeah,
just kind of the reality of that. In
yeah.
terms of like the agency side, then obviously, as you said, you're like pretty removed from it at the moment. Does that kind of run just on referrals, at the moment, or is there any like direct outreach or ads that you're running to get clients?
Um, so that's still pretty much inbound. A lot
Mhm.
of the leads come from content literally that I've made like 3 years ago. That's the
Nice.
beauty of social media.
Love it.
I love TikTok because there's no if you make an evergreen piece of content, there's no expiration date. if you're showing your results and you're not saying, I got this in September of
Mm-hmm.
2025, like you can take that piece of content and post it 1,000 other times and no one's going to realize that the results are from like 5 years ago. You got them. You should be proud of them. You should be showing them.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our leads for social media management are still from my TikTok content, my personal TikTok content. But I just paid a automation agency to build us like a cold outreach like system,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't running yet. But I do think I'm missing a big like opportunity with the cold outreach.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mm-hmm.
just never done. I've tried to do it a million times. I hired an
Mm-hmm.
appointment setting agency, wasted 15 grand, literally got appointments, but they weren't qualified. Like when they say, "Oh, I'm going to book you appointments," like yeah, you can book appointments with
Mm-hmm.
any Joe Schmo, but they're
Yeah.
not going to have $3,000 to pay for social media management. Like they're not vetting those people. If a guarantee is too good to be true, it probably is. Don't
Yeah.
listen to those people. And then I tried, hiring like email somebody to manage my emails and
Mm-hmm.
and do outreach, and that just didn't work either. So um, I'm going to try that. But to answer your question, everything is pretty much still inbound or
Amazing.
referral.
Amazing. Yeah. And I can see, I just checked for TikTok there. So I see you're posting some new stuff as well. But obviously, yeah, you've still got those, like I know you had one video with like I think 3+ 3+ million
Mhm.
around, like you literally giving advice around social media. So I imagine that's one of those that's probably just printing and continuing to bring in those leads for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
Super
I
sick.
think my biggest like takeaway from just my personal brand experience is like evergreen content will make you so much money. Like it is impossible to not make money with evergreen content.
Mhm.
Like it's just impossible. Like
Yeah.
you have to make videos with no expiration.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I made that mistake recently, man. I had this video breaking down how much I spent in a month, and it was in the month of April, I believe, and I did really well. And I was gutted because I was like, "Fuck, I can't reuse this." I've got to wait
Yeah.
till next year, next April, to maybe
Yeah.
post this video. I was like, "Damn, that sucks." I tried to redo it with like a different text on top, so change out the text and just say, "Hey, sample of what I would spend each month." I was like, "Nah, it just doesn't have the same ring to it." But definitely learned that lesson the hard way a few times now, to be honest.
Mhm.
So that's a great tip. Um, yeah, what we'll do in a minute, Amanda, is open up just like the chat and do some Q&A if people have questions that are on the live with us. I'm sure there's going to be some questions there for sure.
Yeah.
Especially people just, getting into this the first time as well. Just some little cues that they'd want to run by you. But yeah, this has been nice. This has been nice. This has been super interesting to see those insights. Like you said, that's quite a journey. And I think it's probably going to be very inspirational for people to hear this if they're even just at that start of the journey. Because, like you said, you would have started with clients like way lower paid, then they get higher paid. Then you had a personal brand, and that started to bring in even better clients. And then you get these
Mhm.
consulting deals that are like multiple six figures a year, and that can just seem so far away for people. But as you said, like you have been in the industry for years. So if somebody wants to get to that kind of level, okay, it might not take as long. Maybe they get there sooner, maybe they get there longer, but stick in the game. If you stick in the game and just make those bold bets on yourself, it's not
Yeah.
guaranteed to happen, but you're going to have a better shot if you keep going.
Yeah. Most people quit. Don't be a quitter.
Yeah, it's
Like
the
that's the
reality.
worst thing you can do is you have one bad month or two bad months or even three bad months, and then you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But that's the month after that could be your best month ever. You so don't like quit because you have some little setbacks. Like I've had major setbacks. Like I was a beginner too. Everyone starts off as a beginner. Even the people that I report to that are like literally leading teams of like 500
Mm,
plus just in the marketing department, they were once an employee of the company, or like
yeah.
they were once just like, oh, how do I even get an interview with this company? Like, so, don't think of it like, look at it like bigger picture and, map out your steps at a time. But everyone starts, as a beginner. I was doing free work for like so long. I did free work to build my portfolio to bring it to even ask for $500 a month from some
Mm,
companies. And they thought that was like so much.
mm.
and then you get one person to say yes, and then you take that and you go and you double it, and then you get 1,000, and it's just how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. And I think a lot of it as well, and I've definitely seen this with your journey, is like you just have to be willing to try these things. Like that, you got a client of 500. A lot of people would, never increase that price or very, very slowly, just go up little bumps here and there. And that can work for sure. But like you've been willing to just go, hey, let's double it. Like let's just do 1,000 the next time I get a lead that's interested. Let's see what happens, and
Yeah.
then you probably, yeah, as you said, like then you get to a point where it's like basic social media management for your clients now is like probably 3K a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our minimum width is like, I think it's 2,500.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good place to be. Good
Mhm.
place to be, definitely. I see we have a question from Dylan, so I'll jump into that here in a sec. And there's probably going to be some more as well. But one question I'd love to kind of lead into and kind of end on is like, what's the next step? You've obviously had like these different versions so far. Where do you
Mhm.
see you doing more? Is it more on just the consulting side, those kind of higher ticket, higher intensity, like that kind of set hour contract type of clients, or what's the kind of vision you have at the moment?
Yeah, I think originally when we had talked last year, like I was really doubling down on like the agency, but I realized that there's a big need for like this type of expertise with corporations and
Mm,
even like government agencies and private sector, businesses, um, and big, huge, figures.
mm,
So I'm definitely like the next step is to just continue like working with these big companies and then eventually, go into projects that I won't even be able to discuss. And,
yeah.
that's yeah, I've talked to a few like different agencies and I have NDAs and everything. Like
Yeah.
even just to
Mm,
literally figure out the name of these companies, you have to sign so much paperwork. I had to
mm,
do a lie detector test, a drug test. I had to go in and get like psychologically evaluated just to have a conversation with these people. Um, yeah, so I think
wow.
the next step is just those companies that
Yeah.
want rule the world pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. The big dogs. Wow. That's different levels. That's different level.
Yeah.
Love it though. Love it. And yeah, who knows? Couple new cars as well.
Yeah. No, no more.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with cars.
Sure. All right. So, Dylan, you said, hi, Amanda, when you first started your business, not sure if I get this one, Dylan. You said, what were they different once you acquired new clients? I think we're missing a word or two, man. Let me know if you can just like reframe it.
Sorry, Adam, can I just jump in and ask a question
Hey,
here?
of course, man.
So
Let's do
I
it.
was trying to cook at the same time. Hi, Amanda. Yeah, basically, when you first started your agency, what were the different streams of outreach you were doing to like acquire new clients? Like, were you focused fully on personal brand? Was it IGDMs at the time or Upwork?
So when I first started, I was going in person to different businesses and just literally going up to like the cash register and being like, "Hey, do you have a social media manager?" So I was doing a lot of like in-person networking. I wasn't sending any IG DMs. I found that to be like extremely ineffective and a time waster for me personally. Um, so I doubled down pretty much on my content for my personal brand, just making like 5 TikToks a day, 10 TikToks a day, just however many I could make, I would do. And then, going in person and then hoping that they saw one of those TikToks. But yeah, that's how I started.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Nice, nice. Toby, oh, interesting question, Toby. Did you see all this growth in Adam's program?
Yeah, actually, so pretty much everything was through Adam's program. Like I said, I met Adam 6 years ago at this point, I think. I joined his program when I was in college, which I had the agency then, but I needed like direction, and Adam was definitely like the person to give me that. Um, so yeah, I saw a lot of growth with Adam in the program. Um, Definitely utilize him, ask him questions. Don't be afraid. Like no question is a stupid question. If you need help, like ask for it. And yeah, I mean, I haven't, me and Adam haven't talked that much recently, but I think it's, even if you don't do the same things that you've been doing, just to talk to somebody and bounce ideas off them, and just ask them for general advice, like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Like, it's always worth asking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Always ask and take massive action, right? Because, Amanda definitely would be not doing this interview, sharing the numbers she shared, if she had just bought the program and asked a couple of questions here and there, and, kind of wanted to start something on the side. Like, no, you were clearly driven, made it happen, took risks, lessons. Like you said, there's been times where it's been super stressful, not going well, and there's times where it's bloody crushing it. So, I think that's the reality, but awesome to hear it's helped anyway. That's always good.
Yeah.
Toby said it sounds like you have a PhD in marketing or something.
I have a bachelor's degree in communications and social media.
There we go.
Yeah, I do. But I will say, like, all my real true knowledge that has like propelled me to the level that I'm at has been all learned through trial and error.
Hmm.
I couldn't tell you, like, somebody the other day was like, "Oh, do you want me to do a SWOT analysis?" I'm like, "What the fuck is a SWOT analysis?" And that's something that I learned in school, or I should have learned in school, a marketing class. But a lot of people really, you just gotta, that saying, it's like you just had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You just have
Mm-hmm.
to do it, and you learn, and you just have to be there. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I studied business in college. We had some marketing lectures. Do I remember much of it? Fuck no. God no. Will I ever? No. It's just, like you said, it's lessons in the game. They're the biggest lessons. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Cool. Well, man, it looks like we have
Can I ask
gotten.
a quick question?
Oh, just as we're about to wrap up, George sneaks
Okay.
in. Let's go, George. Come on.
Sorry. I love that you said how you used to be kind of like airy fairy, like not too taking things too seriously, and now you've made this huge like mindset shift. Like, when did that happen, and why did that happen? Did you just kind of get forced into it?
That's a great question. So I realized that in order to be taken seriously, you have to be serious.
Mm.
There's a time to be, there's a time to schmooze and booze with all these clients. Like, I literally go every night pretty much out with different people, and networking, and, we go to big parties and galas, and that's all great. And, we're not very serious there, but there's a time to be serious. And so when you are like, there has to be a shift to, you sort of have to mirror. My biggest thing is like mirroring. So, for example, when I went in and interviewed with the CEO of one of, the top 10 Fortune 500, I can't say who it is, but they're in the top 10. And I literally went in with the CEO, and he was like asking me if I wanted to drink, like, do like laughing, showing me like TikTok. So I was just mirroring him. Literally, I was like, "Oh, I saw this TikTok too," and I was like showing him, and he appreciated that, because, like, you want to be vibing with people like how they're vibing with you. So I think my biggest mindset shift, to go back and answer your question, was like, once I realized that to have relationships with certain people, you have to act like them, and you have to be their friend. A lot of these big, huge people that are super important will not do business with people that they're not friends with first. There are people that I've literally went on vacation with without having a contract. Like, I flew on their like private jets to other countries in hopes that I would someday get a contract. And that's what happened, because they don't work with people that they don't know. They don't work with people that aren't willing to do the same things as them, or have that same experiences as them. Um, so yeah, once I like sort of opened my eyes and was like, oh, I can't be Amanda. Like, sometimes I literally have to be a clone of Jeff, or I have to be a mirror of Stacy and not Amanda. So does that make sense? I feel like I just went in circles.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
I guess a big thing changed when you started getting those bigger clients, so you had to change your attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely, I mean, you'll get to a point where like you sort of outgrow different phases of your business or your career. Like, I loved being a social media manager, and it was really hard for me to like break up with that era of my life, because all my like social media is like social manager Amanda. And so they're like, I'm not a social media manager anymore. I haven't managed a page in probably 3 years. So it was really hard for me to like sort of separate myself from that, but you have to do that to, like I said, get to the next level. So yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice one. We got one more if you're good on time, Amanda.
Yeah, I have 10 more minutes. So
Sweet. Perfect. So Jessica asked, when you started off, did you have a 9 to 5 or was it just agency full time?
sorry, what was the question?
Did you have a 9 to 5 when you started off as well, or were you doing this full time?
Oh, I've never had a 9 to 5. Like I said, I'm cracking it. I've never, if personally, if I have to work a 9 to 5, my life has been a failure. Like that would just like solidify that I am a failure and I failed. Some people, that's just not possible. It's not possible to take a risk like that and like support themselves. So that's like totally situational. But for me, I sort of put myself in a situation where I had to succeed to literally survive. And that's the mindset I think of a lot of people who you see that are like getting these insane results and have insane cars and are doing all these crazy things, is like they're a little cracked in the head. Like
Yeah.
they're putting themselves in uncomfortable positions so that they have to do these things. Like I always tell this story. So I bought a car that I literally couldn't afford. Like I had to get like a co-signer. Like I had to like it was like I could have not it was a horrible, horrible choice at the time. But to me, I was like, okay, I need to get like 3 clients to pay for this car. So like, I'll get I got the 3 clients, and then I was like, okay, now to pay for my rent, I have to get another client. And that was just like my way of pushing myself, is like, I have this thing that I can't afford. Now I have to work harder to be able to afford it. So I put myself in a lot of uncomfortable positions. That's not the case anymore. But yeah, I've never had a 9 to 5 ever in my life.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Amanda, just one last question. I don't know if I missed this earlier, but like what changed? Like you went from social media manager to then, well, I don't know what your title is now, but like what was I guess the first pivotal moment for that huge shift?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I realized that there's a big disconnect between being in the day to day and being like a trusted advisor, like a trusted source of like you're an expert in this industry. And once I realized that, I really had to change the way I approached my way of working. So like right now, technically my title would be like social media strategist or like corporate marketing consultant. But yeah, I think I just like I sat myself down one day and I made a list of like everything that I wanted to achieve, and I was like, okay, consulting is going really good. Like let's double down on that. And then just sort of snowballed from there.
That's amazing. Okay. Thanks.
Something's working for you, George. Double down. Literally lock in.
Lock in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try my best. I'm on it.
He's on it. Love it.
I'm always on it.
Nice one, man. Well, Amanda, we won't take too much more of your time. I know you said you got to go in a few. So really appreciate it as always. If you want to drop like anything where people can connect with you, anything like that, let me know. Just feel free. And thank you so much. Like this has been super good.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll have some other good things to report next year at this time when we have our yearly interview.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my schedule for next year.
Sounds good. 30th of September. I'll see you then.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Amanda. Have a good one. Hope you all
Bye,
enjoyed,
everyone.
guys. See you soon.